Hello, welcome to episode 4 of Your Human Design Coach. I'm Ashley Watkins. Excited to be here on this podcast with you where it's all about the application of human design. So always will share some of my favorite human design teachers and books and places where you can dive deeper. But really we are about just getting into it and experiencing it and what does it look like to trust your inner authority and live your human design. Our quote today is, tune into who you are and what you really want, not the conditions surrounding you. Today has been a very open head and root day for me. So if you've heard me talk about this before, I have an open head and an open root on my chart for centers. And in human design, this is sometimes referred to as the pressure sandwich. And I woke up at 5:30 this morning thinking of ideas for this podcast. I had already decided that I was going to wait till this weekend to plan, but you know what? It's my podcast. I'll do what I want. I almost got really crazy and recorded episode 5 before 4, but here we are. So I've just been kind of going and going since then, and I've gotten a lot done, but it's felt a little bit scattered. So excited to be here with you to kind of ground down and really get something, accomplished in full. I was reflecting and woke up reflecting about where we're at. So we just entered the human design new year, but as far as our, kind of traditional new year, we're several weeks in. And so maybe at the point where you're doing some reflecting on whether you call them goals, resolutions, new habits. I kind of want to talk about this in the framework of habits today. You may be ready to let go of some or discouraged, or you may be trucking along and doing well, but want to talk about what it looks like to think about habits through the lens of a design. So I've talked a lot about generators and manifesting generators, and there are 5 types in human design. So I want to give the projectors a little love today. So I'm going to be putting up a chart throughout this episode, if you're watching on YouTube, of a projector that I have worked with before, and talking about this kind of framework of habits and deciding what habits to hold on to and maybe double down on at this point in the year, and how to decide if maybe something isn't really what you thought it was and it's time to let it go. So the chart that I'll put up here is for a 1-3 emotional projector. Typically, a projector is known for being our teachers, our leaders in this world, and possibly needing to rest in different ways than generators and manifesting generators. Our projectors make up about 25% of our population. And so they may sometimes feel, living in a world that is a lot of generators and manifesting generators, where you have a lot of energy for the things that light you up. It may feel different to be a projector sometimes. So I thought the idea of habits and kind of setting goals was interesting to explore through this lens. So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to a projector is the need for projectors to, when it comes to their energy, finding the right spaces and people to support them. If you are not feeling supported by the spaces and the people in your life, that may be a place to check in. And it's also very important for a projector to honor their need for rest. I think there's a misconception that, projectors are just off taking naps all the time. And you may have projectors in your life that have a lot of energy. There's different parts of the chart that, drive that as well. But if it is time for rest, honoring that, if it's a have to or a should, that might be a place to check in. Another place where we want to look at when it comes to habits is to take a look at the centers. So on this chart, we have a defined will center. And one of the hallmarks of a defined will center can be a more consistent sense of motivation and willpower. So that could be very supporting when it comes to setting a new habit. However, we also on this chart have a open identity center. So in the middle there. So our will center, when we're looking at the chart, so we're on the right side, that little triangle. And then the identity there is circled in the middle. And the identity may play a part when deciding habits to hold on to or let go of, or how you're feeling supported in setting new habits. Those with the open identity may show up differently depending on who they're with. And when we talk about shadow and wisdom of a center, that's something for those with the open identity to do reflection on and to think about and feel into the alignment of that, of the comfortability of the idea that you are versatile. But when it comes to building new habits, when you are with different groups, you may feel a desire to show up differently. If a habit that you are trying to implement in the new year is to read more, maybe that's a book a month or a certain number of pages every week or whatever that is. When you are with a parent who is a big reader and they're saying to you, you should read more, it'll help you in all these areas of life. Say, yeah, that sounds great. I love that. I'm in it. I'm doing it. I'm good. And then when you get home to the partner who may not be a reader and maybe has different ways that they spend their free time, that desire can kind of drop off. So looking at number one, how to get into alignment of comfortability with showing up different, but really coming back to the authority of what do you really want to do? And are you just excited by your parents saying that and it seems like a good idea for them, but it doesn't really ring true? And do you need to let it go? Maybe focus on other habits that might be more nourishing? Or is there something to be said for paving your own way and finding your own path? When you're with your partner, that's okay for them to be doing what they need to do, but you still want to build this habit. And so how do you support yourself in that? Is it finding a different spot to kind of go and read so that you're, in your own energy and feel more supported, or even communicating with them of, hey, I would love it if you could kind of help me stay accountable with this. In this case here, we have shifting into talking about the profile. This person has a 1-3 profile. And so the 1 is about knowledge, expertise, learning all the things. And then the 3 is about getting in, doing it, getting hands-on, experiencing it, making mistakes, trying again. So this person may feel supported by doing the research about whatever habit they want to create, or whatever new, maybe they want to develop a new skill, but ultimately it may be more satisfying once they just get in and try it. And there can be some tension here in the 1-3, right? You could probably hear it. I want to be an expert, but I also need to be comfortable with making mistakes. So some reflection for this person with this 1-3 profile may be, how am I finding that balance of not letting the need to know it all hold me back? Am I feeling like I want to let go of this new habit because it's not going as well as I think? And maybe how do I get more comfortable with making mistakes? And it all comes back to the authority. Trust your inner authority. So this person has a emotional authority. So that is that. Sleep on it. Wait for calm clarity to come in. Using that authority just helps us make decisions that are aligned with what we need and what our bodies need and our minds need. This person may want to just check back, and did they make this decision to start this new endeavor in the height of, it's the new year, I've got to change, or in the low of, oh, what am I doing with my life? Or was it made in that calm clarity? And if it wasn't made in that place of calm clarity, can they come back and sleep on it and get back to that place? So this goes along with looking at channels when you're doing some reflection on the habits that you've set and whether to persist with those or let those go. In this case, we see here on, again, as we're looking on the bottom right, the 4130 channel. That is called the imagination channel and is part of the collective emotional wave. And so when you have a defined emotional center, you may experience these waves. And for this channel, that may feel like a lot of expectation. When things are going well, it feels really good. But if there's an obstacle or they're feeling like they're not living up to their expectations, so we could see how this would be something that comes in if we're trying to start a new habit and we've been kind of inconsistent, we feel like we're not living up to our expectation, and they are kind of in the midst of that emotional wave and just say, forget it. There's a crash. I'm letting go. I can't do this. So again, it comes back to that calm clarity, that emotional authority, riding out the emotional wave. So all these pieces are things to consider. I think it does come back to the authority. When deciding whether to persevere or let it go, trusting your inner authority. So in this case, that calm clarity. Just a little bit about my experience with looking at habits I've tried to build for myself over the years through the lens of my human design. I think the big one I would say is the authority. So I have that sacral, that gut authority, and I just find that I know when it's time to make a change. So a couple of years ago, I had been going to the gym pretty consistently, but as I was getting older, I just felt like I needed more support in how to lift weights effectively and balancing that with cardio. And so I ended up starting to work with a personal trainer. It was just a decision that I just made quickly, came to me kind of spontaneously. And now I've been working with that trainer for over 2 years, and it's been really a positive experience. I think what I talked about at the top, the open mind and root, if I don't take the time to ground myself before starting, and sometimes honestly, it feels good to kind of ride the pressure sandwich wave. Like today was kind of chaotic, but we're about to get all this, well, supposedly we're going to get all this snow and cold weather. The cold is coming. I don't know about the snow. And so, I'm just sort of tucked in for the day and just let me work on all the things. So I've been kind of moving around and doing these different things, and it's just kind of fun sometimes. And I know I'll get it all done. I love leaning into, in times like these, my defined will center where I know that if I put it on my to-do list, if I said I'm going to do it, it's going to get done. And then just sometimes sort of letting it flow how it needs to. But having awareness of that open head and root has also helped me with how to ground. So doing a little extra meditation, really getting intentional with my to-do list and my calendar, putting things on my calendar at certain times, and seeing that can be helpful. Okay, stop. It's time to do this. It's not sexy, but it feels good. The gut says it works, and keep it simple. All right. Some support for you, some reflection, as you look at your own chart. If you haven't done that yet, you can generate your chart at humandesignblueprint.com and looking at some of those places. So we talked about centers, whether those are open or defined, possibly some wisdom in that profile number, coming back to the authority always, and then looking at some of those channels, maybe if they have to do with decision making or habits, or how you feel supported in your body, depending on what the habits are that you're looking at. Some of those channels can offer some insight and give you some areas to reflect of what to hold on to and what to let go. I hope this was helpful. I would love to hear from you how these episodes have been resonating so far. And as always, appreciate any feedback. So thank you so much, and take care. Stay warm.